Hi, this is Lisa Kelly, Notre Dame author and class of 1993, and you are watching the Two Irish Brothers show. Cheers and go Irish!
Never gets old, does it, folks?
Nope.
How's it going, everyone? I am ND Sean 45.
I'm Irish Benjamin 57, and welcome aboard.
Yes, we make up the Two Irish Brothers as always. And Ben, first things first, I got to tell you, I'm really sorry about the tragedy that you suffered last night. Even though I have pictures to prove it, I'm not going to show it because I'm a nice guy and I'm your friend. But how are you holding up after last night's tragedy?
The embarrassing part, I just, bury me, and put me in the ground. I'm done. But physically wise, no, I'm good. Totally fine. Just, no bumps, no bruises. So
Well, the only tragedy that happened was your pride got hurt, but it's all good. And listen, people, it's nothing serious. Ben's wife just sent me a picture of him breaking one of their lawn chairs, and it was pretty funny. So that's all I'm talking about. Nothing serious. But we got a great show for you, and we'll start off by talking with some of the biggest news in Notre Dame football, and that is Brian Kelly and his staff strike again in the transfer portal, and they have landed this young man, Cain Madden, offensive tackle transfer from the University of Marshall, second team All-American. Ben, this is a huge pickup for the Irish.
yes, it is always nice to see someone of his caliber come and transfer into Notre Dame. We hear it all the time that, Alabama's getting the transfers and Ohio State's getting the transfers and Clemson's getting the transfers, and even Oklahoma. And it's like, all right, we get it, and it's kind of the fingers point at Notre Dame. Well, like, who's transferring to Notre Dame? Well, we're starting to get guys transferring in that can make an impact. So I'm pretty excited.
And looking at Cain Madden's numbers, 6'3", 313 pounds. He's been a 3-year starter at Marshall, and I think the biggest thing too to keep in mind is a second team All-American. So the fact that this guy is deciding to transfer to us and I was about to say his fifth year eligibility. It's actually his 6th year because he's taking advantage of the COVID-19 year where the NCAA is giving everybody an extra year because of that. So I think it's safe to say that you could pencil this kid in as our starting right tackle for the 2021 season.
Yeah, for sure. And let's not forget the biggest thing of his transfer was he was considering Florida State, so we got him over Florida State, which is always really, really fun.
Well, considering the fact that they're our opening opponent to start the 2021 season, big pickup.
Yeah, that's a big nah.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what this pickup of Cain Madden does for that offensive line is not only does it add depth, but I think it gives it gives Brian Kelly and his staff the opportunity to kind of play around a little bit, because I know there's like three guys on that line that you could switch around, but it seems like right now with the addition of Cain Madden, you could probably assure that he'll start at the right tackle spot. Zeke Correll, definitely the starting center, but then the other guys, from what it looks like, you have several others that could kind of switch around here. I mean, let's see, where is it at? So it looks like I don't know, like with the two guard spots, it looks like you could switch between Jarrett Patterson and who were the other guys that are starting for us? Jarrett Patterson's still there. Blake Fisher, he's still there.
Well, Blake Fisher's freshman, so Blake Fisher, Roscoe Rocco Spindler. So and Blue and Gold broke it down pretty well. They said that Rocco and Blake were both, looking to be maybe a potential freshman starter, but with this transfer coming in Cain Madden, that position could have just closed, and he's 6'3", 331 pounds, and he has a nickname, the dump truck, so this is a guy that you want on your offensive line. The only thing that I think could slow down Cain is the playbook. Rocco and Blake have both had the playbook a little bit longer than Cain has. So, and that was kind of my thing with Drew Pine, in the quarterback situation. He's a guy that has been the most exposed to the playbook.
Yeah. Josh Lugg was the other one that I couldn't think of.
So, that could be, Cain's crutch. I hope it's not. I hope that he comes in and he picks it up right away and all that. I don't know. I couldn't tell you much about Marshall. I don't follow them, really, really hard. I've seen the movie and the documentary on We Are Marshall and all that, but that's really all I've had with Marshall. And I had a teacher when I was a kid that graduated from the University of Marshall, but that's about it. So I don't know what kind of offense they're running in West Virginia at Marshall, so I don't know how easy of a transition it'll be for Cain.
Well, all I know is I think it could be tough for him, but like I said, this kid was a 3-year starter at Marshall, a second-team All-American. I think he could come in there and figure it out pretty quick with with his veteran experience. But I think definitely though, aside from him at probably right tackle, Zeke Correll at center, and then you're probably going to have at least one of the two freshmen starting. Probably Blake Fisher at the left tackle spot, and then you could move around Patterson and Lugg in between the two guard spots. So there's some flexibility there, but regardless of how the offensive line shapes up for us, it definitely gives Brian Kelly a lot of wiggle room to move guys around, and because there's you got Patterson and Lugg who can probably play both guard spots. I think one of them you could probably switch over to tackle. Who knows? But the depth and the flexibility, that's what I like. And this pickup of Cain Madden really gives us that. And something that I do have to mention too is Brian Kelly, in recent years, he has done a phenomenal job with taking advantage of that transfer portal and bringing in guys that could really help us. You look at all the guys that he's brought in. These are guys that have really been able to make an impact for us. One that comes to mind is the first one that comes to my mind anyway is Ben Skoranek when he came in from Northwestern, and he made some nice plays for us, got us to the ACC championship, and he basically played that Chris Fink role.
Yeah.
But then you also have other guys like Nick McLeod who came in from NC State. Trevor Spites coming in from Stanford. And then, of course, we have safety Isaiah Pryor, who's done a really nice job for us as well. And even though this is yet to be seen, but he does have a pretty good track record, and we've been talking about him all offseason so far, is quarterback Jack Cohn coming in from the University of Wisconsin.
Yep.
So, these are guys that could really help us get to that next level. But, of course, recruiting takes over in that spot, but still, when you bring in guys that can fill in spots from that transfer portal, it makes your job as a head coach so much more easier.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree.
So, but anyway, moving on to the next topic, and I know we're kind of going back and forth between college and pro here. The big news out of the NFL that we just recently heard, Julio Jones is no longer an Atlanta Falcon after, how long was he there? A good decade?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a good decade with the Atlanta Falcons. He has been traded by the Falcons to the Tennessee Titans, and let me tell you something. I don't know how you feel, Ben, but the Tennessee Titans, their team just got a heck of a lot better.
Yeah. they have made some offseason moves, and they're looking to be a big challenge in the AFC side of things in the NFL. So we'll see. Julio's an aging receiver, so he's got to stay healthy. But if he is healthy, he can be a very big threat. So,
well, when you look at the trade details and what the Titans gave up to get him, all they gave up was a. Hold on, actually, yeah, I just want to make sure I got it correct here. Yeah, the Titans get wide receiver Julio Jones and a 2023 6th-round draft pick in return, and then the Falcons end up getting the Titans 2nd-round pick for next year and a 4th pick for 2023. So as far as I'm concerned, the Titans got a big-time steal in this one because Julio Jones is not – yeah, he's on the wrong side of 30, absolutely, but this is a guy who probably has another 3 good years left in him, maybe 4, because, wide receivers, they're getting – excuse me, they're getting better all the time. I mean, look at Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, I can't remember. He didn't retire yet, did he?
Not officially. Not, so yeah.
So Julio Jones could be that next Larry Fitzgerald, because I mean, as old as he is, Julio's still performing at a top level, and if the Titans can get 3 more good years out of him, then this trade was an absolute steal.
Yeah,
but I got to tell you though, it's funny, and I think I don't think I'm the only one that's thinking this. I know you're probably thinking it, and a lot of other people are thinking it too. I know another friend of mine is who just made a video on it, but I was so sure that Julio Jones was a slam dunk for the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did. There's so many people that thought that the Patriots would reach out and grab him and do what they could to get him, but they pivoted. So,
and my buddy who I was just talking about, it's Syracuse and Buffalo Sports. He made a video yesterday, I think it was, talking about this situation, and he's kind of got a point. I mean, Julio Jones would have been the clear number 1 for New England, and right now they don't really have that clear number 1. It's looking like Nelson Aguilar is going to be their number 1, and I agree with my buddy Eric. I think the Patriots really blew it. But
yeah, yeah. I mean, New England is one of those that I think a lot of people, I wouldn't say spoiled, but people have just gotten so used to New England just year in, year out being a contender. No matter who they have, they just roll out a good team. And now New England is on the downward trend. I mean, and it's not, I don't think it's just because of Brady. I think their time is just up. All good things come to an end.
Yes.
I mean, this Alabama dynasty that we're witnessing is going to come to an end, at some point.
At least we hope so anyway, for our sake.
But, I mean, and it was the same with New England. I mean, New England has been, the clear-cut Super Bowl favorite for, almost a decade now. So, to see them not have the offense that they had, not have the defense that they had, quarterback situation that's shaky, a wide receiver core that doesn't have that clear-cut number 1, a running back situation where you're wondering who's going to start, who's going to get the axe. Tumultuous times in New England right now. Yeah.
But it sounds like they do possibly have their quarterback of the future in Mac Jones, and so we'll just see if Belichick and the staff out there can build that franchise back up or keep it going, however you want to word it. But yeah, on that note, everyone, at this point in time, we're gonna take a quick break here and give you this message from our sponsor.
Nothing refreshes quite like the real cola taste of Diet Coke. With 100% NutraSweet.
Hey, where's Boomer? Diet Coke. Guys.
Okay, first off, we obviously don't have any sponsors. I just wanted to put that old commercial in because it was so damn funny from back in the day. Yes, yes, that's right. You were drinking a Diet Coke. Oh, yeah, that commercial was from all the way back, and I believe 1990. 1990. It was so corny, but it rings of classic
Yep.
late 80s, early 90s stuff.
30 years ago at this point.
Yeah, let's see. 1990. I was 4 years old, and Ben, I think you might have just been an infant.
Yep, I was 1.
Yeah, we were both pretty young. And so is it just me? I don't know how many old commercials you've seen or just happen to browse on YouTube searching
they're
for,
corny.
but
They're cornier than
not just corny, but it seems to me like everything back then had NutraSweet in it.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
that was the thing of the time. I mean that
I mean every soft drink commercial, but not just soft drinks, but gum,
Yeah.
everything had freaking NutraSweet in it. But as corny as that commercial was, it is kind of a classic for me. You know, the melting football players and 104-degree heat. Boomer Esiason comes and saves the day. Which, I mean, actually, at that point, the Bengals were one of the hottest teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, but no. If anybody thinks that we have a sponsor, you're crazy.
Especially for the place like Coke.
Yeah.
The Coca-Cola company. The company
I mean,
that basically invented Santa Claus. I mean, we're sponsored by those guys. Like,
hey, now don't get me wrong though. On a serious note here, if we ever did well enough to where we got a sponsor, oh, that'd be awesome. We would jump on that in a heartbeat.
I think we would totally have missed the boat if Under Armour wasn't like a sponsor of ours. Just saying. Like,
well, but also it depends what the sponsor was, because I wouldn't want to be sponsored by, like, I don't know, KY or something like that. I just don't think I dig that too much.
yeah.
Or
sponsorships where you can get them.
Well, that's I don't know. I'm on the fence about that one. It depends what it is. It depends what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I yeah.
All right. Well, look. Anyway, getting back to getting back on track here. The next thing I wanted to talk about, Ben, and I know you've had a chance to look this over too, but just a couple weeks ago, I found a very interesting article from the website 1 Foot Down, and I know maybe technically we shouldn't be talking about people who were quote unquote rivals, if you say, or I'm sorry, to get it in sync, rivals. Well, what rivalry? They're up there, we're not. But I thought this article is from Joshua Valls by that or from that website, and I thought this was actually pretty good. Now, obviously, you and I are true fans. We're never going to project Notre Dame to lose. Yeah. And what's funny is we're still getting comments on our Rose Bowl pregame and postgame videos of people calling us homers and stuff like that. Well,
that should have been a goal from day one. I mean,
yes. From day one when we started the show,
that's supposed to be an insult. Get a different insult, because that's not insulting to me.
Yeah, we've said day one we're never going to project Notre Dame to lose. We are true fans. This is a fan show. What kind of fan would you be if you picked your own team to lose? But anyway,
you would be a realist. You would be a realist fan.
Yes, man. If I all the times I've heard the word realist this past year, it's been ridiculous. But I digress. But regardless, I thought this article was pretty interesting by Mr. Valls, and that's not Valls as in volunteers. That's VOWLES.
Yes.
The Subway Domer. I think that's his Twitter handle.
Mm-hmm.
So he had this really was an interesting read, despite the projection, which I don't like. He made a very good point, and I've said this myself. I mean, we have not won a major bowl game, and I'm talking about NY6, BCS,
right?
Yeah, CFA. I think that's what it was called back in the day, the college football bowl association or something like that. Bottom line is we haven't won a major bowl game since the 94 Cotton Bowl against Texas A&M. But here's the thing. And I'll just go ahead and bring this up. Put this on the screen here. This projection he featured on the article is from 24/7 Sports. So here are from 24/7 Sports. Here are the playoff NY6 predictions from 24/7 Sports. So as you guys can tell, the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl being the two semifinal games, they have Ohio State and Alabama in the Cotton Bowl, and Oklahoma and Clemson in the Orange Bowl. So they have those 4 teams making the playoffs. Then they have hold on one sec. My cat is scratching to get out. Come on, buddy. So you look at these matchups, they're pretty good matchups. I mean, Georgia and Iowa State in the Sugar Bowl, SC and Wisconsin in the Rose, North Carolina, LSU in the Peach, and then this is what I wanted to talk about. Us and the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers in the Fiesta Bowl. So the projections have us going 10-2 and playing the best group of 5 team in the Fiesta Bowl. Now, despite the fact that they have us going 10-2, and I'm going to take this down for just a sec. There's a negative and a positive out of this. Obviously, the negative is we go 10-2 and don't make the playoffs.
Yep, 2 losses. Yeah,
yeah, and the positive is we still make an NY6 bowl, and there's even some pros and cons to that as well.
Yeah.
Now, I am not bad-mouthing the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. I mean, they have come along in the last couple of years, and they've been playing some pretty good football. They're not a bad team.
No.
But here's the thing: if that did turn out to be the case, and we played Coastal Carolina in the Fiesta Bowl and we won, of course I'd be happy. It'd be our first major bowl victory since 1994. But you just know what would follow after that.
The haters. They'd
be like, "Oh yeah, well you guys can beat the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, but it wasn't like you guys played a sexy matchup. It wasn't like there was an Alabama in there or an Ohio State or LSU, whoever. No, you guys got a low level group of 5 team." And again, not trying to badmouth Coastal Carolina, but that's what the people would say.
Yep.
So I don't know how you feel about that, Ben, but in my opinion, it would suck for that reason, because we still wouldn't, even if we won that game, we wouldn't get the respect. But I do have to agree, it would be nice to just get that monkey off our back, that weight that's been holding us down since 1994.
Yeah, I mean, the haters are always going to make an excuse of why Notre Dame isn't good enough. I mean, we saw that with Clemson. Clemson went back and forth with Notre Dame in the first matchup in the regular season, and I mean, DJ threw just an incredible game as a quarterback coming in as his first start against an incredible opponent in Notre Dame. I mean, Trevor Lawrence couldn't have done any better than DJ did, and the haters still came out and said that, well, it was a fluke. It was a fluke. And I mean, even if we say that Notre Dame played Alabama and say that they beat them in the opening round to get into the college football national championship, people will be like, oh, it's a fluke. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't beat Alabama. You got lucky. So, I mean, the excuses will always be there. So there's that. In regards to the article by Josh, he nailed it. He says, I did not pick the Fighting Irish to go 10-2. Let's be clear about that. He goes, I think the floor is 11-1. And I agree with him. There is a opponent on the schedule that could beat Notre Dame, whether it's Wisconsin, whether it's North Carolina, heck, whether it's even Cincinnati. There is an opponent that could beat Notre Dame on the schedule.
Yeah.
And he made it right with saying that's the floor. The floor is 11-1. But he also went on to say a 10-2 record is nothing to scoff at. I mean, 10 wins for the 5th straight season in a row.
Yeah.
And an NY6 bowl appearance is nothing to scoff at. The realists will say, well, we should make the national title, and if Notre Dame wants to ascend to the best level, then they need to play Alabama and Clemson. So it is what it is. I would have no problem with that matchup against Coastal Carolina, and whether we won by a point or 100 points against them, it's a win, and it's an NY6 victory, and like you said, gets the monkey off the back.
I mean, really, are you going to watch the Irish play in a major bowl game and win and not be happy?
Yeah.
I mean, no.
Yeah.
No, I'm
the fans that are there. I mean, we know who they are. As soon as I said that, everybody thought of a specific person. And we'll all probably have a different one that we're thinking of, but there would be a Notre Dame fan somewhere that we know that wouldn't be happy with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's like myself and even yourself being the fans that we are. Yes, we know that this game would not have the sexiness like it normally would, but it's still a major bowl game. That Coastal Carolina team in this scenario, they would have done what they had to do to earn the right to be there. And of course, that's another thing too, is you can't underestimate all these smaller schools who make it to the big stage, because they're the most dangerous, I think, because they're the most hungriest. They're the ones that truly have the chip on their shoulder, and they want to prove to everybody that they deserve to be on that big stage. That they're not just there for no reason or out of pity or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, it would definitely be an interesting matchup, but I think all those scenarios, they come into play big time because, like we already said, we know it's not the sexiest matchup. We know what haters would say if we did win that game. Oh, well, basically what we just broke down. But anyway, I just thought it was actually a pretty well written article by Josh Vowles and at 1 Foot Down, and I just thought it was a good thing to talk about because he had some interesting scenarios. But in addition to that, to us in particular, I'm going to bring back up these projected matchups, and I gotta say, aside from us, there's some pretty good matchups in this NY6 projection. And the one that intrigues me the most is LSU against North Carolina. I mean, of course, the playoffs, those are all great matchups too, but I'm talking about like outside of that.
Yeah.
Because the semifinal game should be good matchups, but that LSU North Carolina game is really intriguing in that Peach Bowl.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that people, with these projections, because they're projections, I mean, they, none of these things could even happen. With the projections, you got to remember that there are 3 teams in this projection that Notre Dame plays on their schedule. And that is North Carolina, Southern Cal, and Wisconsin.
Yeah. So basically, we play the whole Rose Bowl.
I mean, so I just, it just shows how Notre Dame is scheduling good opponents. And I mean, by them going, let's say 10-2, I mean, they're going 10-2 on a rough schedule, and I mean, this is not according to us. This is according to odds makers and analysts that are saying, okay, well, here's who we predict to go X, Y, and Z.
Well, and also I got to tell you that the Sugar Bowl matchup between Georgia and Iowa State, don't be surprised if Iowa State makes a lot of noise this year.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to say, if this matchup does come true and Iowa State plays Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, look for Iowa State to really give Georgia a run for their money, because this is an Iowa State team that's gotten really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and all of these matchups would be, this would be an incredible slate of games, to be honest with you. I mean, and granted, there are Notre Dame rivals on this list, but I mean, they would be pretty incredible matchups with the most recent, history of these teams. And all these matchups, except for maybe 2 or 3 teams that are on these lists, could be in the playoffs. I mean, you could see LSU in the playoffs. You could see North Carolina in the playoffs. You could see Georgia Wisconsin,
Absolutely.
and Cal. I mean, you could see these teams. Coastal Carolina, I don't know what they would have to do to get to the playoffs. I think there would have to be a lot of bedlam for them to get there. It could be happen. I think if Iowa State wanted to get in the playoffs, they would have to go undefeated and beat a couple people along the way, like an Oklahoma or a Texas, by a wide margin for the voters to vote them into the playoffs. But everybody else, I think, could have a legit shot at the playoffs. So
yeah, there's no question about the Chanticleers to get to the Final Four. That would be there'd have to be an awful lot that happened. There would have to be complete bedlam, like you said.
I don't think we've. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we've had a group of 5 team in the playoff yet.
No, not to my knowledge.
So, yeah. I mean, also it'll be cool when it happens. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I would love to see a team like Coastal Carolina or Liberty or whoever get in. That'd be awesome. I remember when TCU, crashed the party with the Rose Bowl against Wisconsin, when JJ Watt was at Wisconsin. But, it's hard to do that. I mean, Boise State crashed the party at one point against Oklahoma and a couple other times.
Yeah.
So,
well, and also something I wanted to add on to this, you look at all these teams in this the projections for this year, and you mentioned scheduling not too long ago, but we have something else to point out too. Is we have some of these teams that are on this, not just on the schedule this year, but in the future as well. Because in the future we have, and I'm talking near future,
Alabama.
Alabama. We still have like 7 or 8 years.
We have like
play them.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a while.
Is coming.
Ohio State's coming. Clemson is coming again. And obviously you have, like I said, SC is on the schedule every year. So you can't say that our schedule is a problem. Not at all.
Yeah.
And there's in a few years from now, we're going to have Clemson and Ohio State in the same season.
Yeah, and here's another thing for you. Okay,
I'll go ahead and take this down.
In the last decade, Notre Dame has beaten on these projections. Okay, Notre Dame has beaten LSU, North Carolina, Southern Cal, Iowa State, Clemson, and Oklahoma.
Pretty impressive.
I mean, so when people say that we're overrated, are we? Because the only two thorns in Notre Dame's side on this list would be Ohio State and Alabama. I mean, people are like, well, you went 0-2 against Georgia, but both the Georgia games were a last possession, could have gone either way games.
Yeah.
It's to be seen against Wisconsin.
Yeah, because we haven't played Wisconsin, I think, like since the '60s, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be an interesting task ahead, that's for sure. So, yeah, one last thing, Ben, before we wrap it up. Even though we haven't really talked a lot about them, we got to give a shout out to Notre Dame baseball. They are going to be headed to the Super Regionals for the first time since 2002. So congratulations to the men's to Notre Dame baseball, because obviously softball's for the women. Congrats to Notre Dame baseball for getting. Yeah. Are they? So that means they're officially in Omaha, or wherever they're playing it this year. I thought it was somewhere different.
Always in Omaha.
Okay, I was thinking they were playing it somewhere different this year for whatever reason. And they've been on a roll too. I mean, not only have they been winning, have been constantly winning, but they've been beating up on teams. I mean, they just beat UConn 26-3.
Yeah, that's a football score right there, man.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Wait a second, now, hold on."
Yeah, and
football team onto the field.
And their one player, Nico Cavaras, or however you say his last name, he has been tearing it up with the long balls, man. From what I'm seeing from the highlights, I probably butchered his last name, but I know his first name's Nico. But I think he's had like 4 or 5 home runs in like the last 3 games or something like that. It's been ridiculous. So go Notre Dame baseball, take it all the way, baby, take it all the way. So
Get another
on that,
natty under our belts.
yes, absolutely. So Ben, is there anything else you would like to add to this broadcast?
I got nothing, man. We covered actually quite a bit in the time that we had. I mean,
I didn't expect to go this long, actually. 35 minutes.
We really covered it. So, yeah, like I said before the broadcast, we're kind of in that lull period where everybody's getting excited and antsy, and now that the draft is over, we're like, okay, what's the next step? What's coming next? And it's preseason for NFL football, and then with preseason brings college football. So, I don't know about you, but I got my first of at least 2 fantasy drafts this coming weekend for fantasy football. So I'm getting excited about that. Of course, it's a dynasty league, so that'll be a rookie draft basically.
Yeah, same here with us. We just started a dynasty league the year before last, and we usually don't have our draft till like I think July or early August, something like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anyway, with that said, one last thing, guys, we do have a little surprise in store lined up for you guys. We just have to make the plans and
iron out the details.
Yep, iron out the details, and that's all we're gonna say. But that little surprise is going to be coming sooner rather than later. I can tell you that much.
Yep.
So you guys are not going to want to unsub from us anytime soon.
Nope.
So it's because some good stuff is on the horizon. So with that said, everyone, I am ND Sean 45.
I'm Irish Benjamin 57.
And as always, God bless, good night, and go Irish.
Go Irish.